Good day everyone, and to you Sir Celestino Siglos. I am Marvel Makatambad from Section 1Y AMGO4, and these are my answers to the given final examination questions. Number 1. Explain language as an object of scientific study. Linguistics is the science of language, and linguists are scientists who apply the scientific method to questions about the nature and function of language. Linguists conduct formal studies of speech sounds, grammatical structures, and meaning across all the world's over 6,000 languages. They also investigate the history of and the changes within language families and how language is acquired when we are infants. Linguists examine the relationship between written and spoken language, as well as the underlying neural structures that enable us to use language. As a multidisciplinary field, linguistics attempt to understand how language is stored in the human mind or brain, and how it is part of everyday human behavior through its sister fields of neuroscience, philosophy, psychology, anthropology, sociology, and computer science. Number 2. What communication system do animals use? Animals communicate with each other in many different ways. They use body language, sound, smell, touch, and even chemical and electrical communication. In fact, animals are far superior to humans in many of their communication methods. Animals can communicate in a very complex way without using any sound at all. Bees, for example, use elaborate dance to describe to other hive members the exact location of a food source they have found. Not only that, they can also tell other bees what type of food it is. Number 3. Explain human language and animal communication. Communication in both animals and humans consists of signals. Signals are sounds or gestures that have some meaning to those using them. The meaning is often self-evident based on context. For example, many animals roar, growl, or groan in response to threats of danger. Similarly, humans may wave their arms or scream in the event of something dangerous. These signals in this situation are designed to let others in the species know that something is wrong in the animal or human needs help. Human communication consists of both signals and symbols. Symbols are sounds or gestures that have a specific meaning to a group of people. This meaning could be cultural, group related, or even related between two specific people. For example, two people may create a secret handshake, or a group may develop a passcode that only members are aware of. Symbols, unlike signals, must be taught and learned. They are not instinctual or self-evident. Number 4. Explain artificial and natural language. Natural language are all the languages that have evolved naturally through interaction and repetition without any conscious planning of their development. For instance, English, Hindi, German, Chinese, Serbian, or etc. are all natural languages. Latin can be regarded as a natural language as well. However, it is now dead, which means they don't speak anymore and thus cannot evolve. What's important to understand about natural languages is that they do not have a creator. Artificial languages are languages that have been consciously devised, usually by a single creator, They are also sometimes called planned languages, constructed languages, or invented languages. Specific types of artificial languages may be called fictional languages, auxiliary languages, or interlanguages. Next one is number 5. What is the relationship between language and power? Language is viewed as having no power of its own, and yet can be produced, influenced, and controlled by revealing the power behind the speaker. Language also reflects the collective or historical power of the language community that uses it. In the case of modern English, its prominent status as a global language and international lingua franca has shaped the communication between native and non-native English speakers because of the power of the English-speaking world that it reflects, rather than because of its linguistic superiority. Number 6. How does a language affect power? Language can constitute an efficient instrument of power, but even in the democracies, power is exercised through language. Those who possess political power and control media can influence language and determine discourses in society. In both cases, language provides a wisely used conventional means to transfer extralinguistic power to the communication context. This power allows a language to maintain the power behind it, unite or divide a nation, and create influence. Number 7. What are language ideologies in linguistics? Language ideologies are this collective order that is the beliefs and attitude that shape speakers' relationship to their own and other languages, mediating between the social practice of language and the socio-economic and political structures within which it occurs. From the 1980s, when the concept was developed, through the early 2010, language ideology was a dominant organizing frame for many who studied language in use. Its apotheosis in the United States represented a moment of relative unity, as scholars with otherwise disparate research concerns and geographic foci united around this framework that brought together signifying practice with political, economic concerns. The next question is the number 8 question. What is the concept of diaspora? The concept diaspora is used in opposition to stabilized minority. The French in Canada or the Hungarian in Yugoslavia, a historically developed and stabilized minority language. These minorities within contemporary state formations were established maybe hundreds of years ago. They have their stabilized regional variants of a standard language and their own dialects. For children of such groups, this linguistic situation makes up a normal linguistically homogeneous, homogeneous environment with stabilized relations to the language of the majority as well. Next question is number 9. What is online and social media communications? Social media is an internet-based form of communication. Social media platforms allow users to have conversations, share information, and create web content. The, there are many forms of social media, including blogs, microblogs, wikis, social networking sites, sharing sites, instant messaging, video sharing sites, podcast widgets, virtual worlds, and more. Number 10. Do all languages change through time? Language is always changing. We've seen that language changes across space and across social group. Language also varies across time. Generation by generation, pronunciations evolve. New words are borrowed or invented. The meaning of old words drifts, and morphology develops or decays. The rate of change varies, but whether the changes are faster or slower, they build up until the mother tongue becomes arbitrarily distant and different. After 1,000 years, the original and new languages will not be mutually intelligible. After 10,000 years, the relationship will be essentially indistinguishable from the chance relationships between historically unrelated languages. Number 11 question. How long does it take for a language to change? If two groups of original language speakers were isolated for this length of time, the resulting dialects would almost certainly be considered new languages. So the lower limit is likely to be 500 years, and a reasonable upper limit would be 1,000 years for a language to have diverged sufficiently to be mutually incomprehensible. Number 12 question. What is the relationship between language, culture, and thought? The relationship between language, thought, and culture is deeply rooted. Language can be interpreted as a symbol of the human vocal system that used as a tool for thinking, forming we our mind, and to understand the mind of other person. Thought is a place to process all information that we obtain and also a place to process all information that we want to utterance. The results of thought process and language we know as a culture. And the last question, question number 13. How does language affect culture and thought? Language do not limit our ability to understand or think about the world. Rather, they direct our attention and thought towards specific aspects of the world. There are numerous other examples of language influences perception, such as when describing events and gender. So that's all my answers to the given final examination questions. Thank you and God bless us all.